Hello everybody. Welcome back to my channel. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Today we're reacting to another Necrit video. It's about how old the champions are. So, let's go. I imagine a lot of them is pretty old. Do I need subtitles? Probably not. I usually don't with Necrit. It is pretty loud. How loud is that?
So, after a very long time, it seems like I'll be remaking the most popular... Wait. Formerly most popular video on the channel. We'll be talking about how old champions are according to the lore. Years ago when we talked about it, we didn't even have the official timeline. That's why by now it is heavily outdated. But even after we got the timeline in the Realms of Runeterra book, we still didn't know what was the current year. The last event mentioned on the timeline was when Swain took over Noxus. But that also happened a while ago. Thankfully, then comes the Ruined King to the rescue. As the Ruined King game was released, we got an extra timeline that extends to the present day. So right now, we know that the present year in Runeterra is 998. So we are 2 years from the Noxian big anniversary. Speaking of which, here is how the years work. When we go into the negatives on the timeline, remember that we have to add 1000 years to the age. Because we also have 1000 years that goes into the positive side. And the moment humanity started counting years was when Noxus was founded as an empire. That is year 0. So, know that this video will be the most accurate way to pinpoint the age of all champions. A lot of people mentioned that a writer said this and a writer said that. Forget all of that. We are going way more accurate. I have read the lore of all 158 champions. With their average of 5 pages of lore per champion, it means I roughly read the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy worth of content. But it was all exposition about the champions' origins. Still, to make sure I wouldn't miss a major detail, I streamed this research live. And it took us 9 different streams to complete the list. Still, remember, the lore of League of Legends is massive. And it is easy to miss something. So if you noticed something I didn't, let me know in the comments below. Also, remember, not all champions have their age written down. There will be a lot of estimating too.
That's a champion?
When that
I've seen him before.
Finally, I'll try to go alphabetically, but I'll bunch some champions together whenever it makes sense. So now, with all of this said, without further ado, let's tackle this monstrosity.
Alright. Let's do it.
Starting with Aatrox.
Oh, he's old.
It was very easy to pin down.
I can already tell you he's old.
He was there during the rise of the God Warriors. So he is roughly 5,998 years old. When it comes to Ahri, her story in The Ruined King mentions that she is at least a century old.
She's older than everybody combined.
Definitely over 100. But she is more likely 200 years old, since she mentioned that she is older
good for her
than
age.
everyone else in the Ruined King game combined. Akali is an amazing
proof
of something you may not realize.
Is she old?
Champions are older than you think. And that's because the story keeps progressing and the years go by. You may think that Akali is, what, 19 years old? 21?
Yeah, 21.
Well, in reality, she is 29. We know this because her story mentioned that she was 14 when the Noxian invasion happened. Since the Noxian invasion took about a year to start, and more importantly, since the Noxian invasion happened 14 years ago, it is right here on the timeline. We know for a fact that Akali is 29 years old. This is set in stone. When it comes to Akshan, his age is not referenced anywhere. He might be around 30, but it is a pure estimation.
I can see 30.
Alistar is about 300 years old, simply because his story mentions that he is centuries old. When it comes to Amumu, we don't even know what he is. If he's a Yordle,
he's so
he's
sad.
If not, I have no idea when he lived. Anivia is over
10,000
years old, because her bio mentions that she lived before mortals in Freljord, with the first mortal war happening in the First Lands, also known as Ionia, 10,000 years ago. Also, remember, she had to be there during the War of the Three Sisters. Annie, and you might not believe this, is 9 years old now. She is definitely not the child she is in the game. We know this because her bio mentions that she was born during the last years of Borem Darkwill, which is when Swain took over Noxus. Aphelios has no reference anywhere. He is
Aphelios.
roughly 26 by peer estimation. Ash and Sejuani are both similar age. We have seen them in the comic, but it is still hard to estimate their age. We know that Sejuani is Udyr's daughter, so if Udyr had her at the age of roughly 26, Sejuani and Ash would be roughly 30, and Udyr would be about 56. Aurelian Sol was there at the beginning
Oh
of
gosh,
the
he's
album.
old.
When Azir lived, his bio mentions that he was 15, then quote-unquote years passed, and then another decade happened. So by the time his failed ascension happened, he would be around 30. So in the present days, Azir would be 3031 years old. Just
Okay.
like Aurelian, Bard was there at the beginning.
Yeah.
Blitzcrank would be roughly 8, because that's when the major chemical spill happened in Zone. Brand has to be older than 519, because he burned down Raigan's Reach when he was about 19, and apparently it happened many centuries ago according to the map. Braum is likely over 60, but it's a pure estimation.
Yeah.
All of his lore are legends. Caitlyn seems to be older than Vi, but it's just a theory.
She's,
we'll talk about
what,
Vi in just a
maybe
bit, but by a
26,
pure estimation,
29?
Caitlyn has to be about 33.
33?
Despite everyone thinking that Camille is ancient, in reality she is about 80. We know that
Wow.
she killed her balding brother, who died at the age of roughly 70, with another 10 years going into the
I don't know
present.
anything about her.
Cassiopeia starts a really crazy chain. You see, she was older than Sivir during their story. Sivir also has no reference in her lore. But if Sivir is roughly 30 in the present days, Cassiopeia would have to be about 35, but she is the youngest daughter of the Dukuto family. Which means that by connection, Katarina has to be older than Cassiopeia. So right now, Katarina might be over 35 years old.
Wow, okay.
Cho'Gath has no lore.
Cho'Gath.
Corki has no lore. Darius has to be over 40. We know
Wow.
that he was 32
Okay.
during the comics, with about 8 years going into the present days. Diana and Leona are both pure estimations. However, in their recent story called Rise With Me, we learned that Leona was shield-aged, while Diana wasn't. Now, if shield-aged means that Leona was about 16, you know, the point when she starts taking on responsibilities. First of all, it would mean that in the story where they kissed, Leona would be 16 and Diana would be 14. But even if we raise it up by 2 years, so that the shield age is 18, Diana would still be 16, and their estimated age would be 35 for Diana and 37 for Leona. Mundo is about 28 years old.
Mundo.
He was about 25 when he became a bodyguard. Draven is over 36 years
Draven.
old. He is Darius's younger brother.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Now, normally, I would guess that Echo is
Echo.
about 23 years old.
He does go back
But
and forth
he
in
might be
time.
a
He
lot
freezes
closer to
time.
something like
Will that mess with
26,
his age?
Similar age to Jinx, who is Vi's younger
That makes
sister.
sense. That makes
With
sense.
Vi being roughly 30, with
30.
the only
Okay.
reference being a loose connection to Renata.
She looks
where
awesome
Renata
there.
mentioned that Camille might be connected to the
Wait a
murder
minute.
of her
Hold on.
parents.
Pause. Why
So
don't
if
you
Vi-
ever pause? Look at that outfit. That is so cool. And look at these gloves. I think that's the coolest picture I've seen of her. Awesome.
I was found in the ruined alchemy lab of Renata's parents. That happened over 30
Who
years
are
ago.
their
This
parents?
also means, because Renata's parents died when she was 15, Renata would be over 45 years old.
I can see that.
Elise is about 300
Elise.
years old.
She looks
Her
cool.
bio mentions that she is centuries old.
I can see that.
Evelyn is 1011 years old.
Wow.
She was born during the Rune Wars. By a pure estimation and relation to the other champions, Ezreal would be about 27.
I can see that.
Fiddlesticks, being likely a primal demon,
He's old.
might have been there since the beginning as well. Fiora is estimated to be
Who
roughly
is she?
30, because she was 18
She's very
when
cool looking.
Jarvan III was still alive. Fizz has to be
Fizz.
over 10,000 years old,
Okay.
since he lived before the Landwalkers. Gangplank is estimated to be 50,
50.
based on the story he has with Misfortune. with Misfortune being roughly 30. She was 11 when her mother died, when Gangplank was roughly 30.
Okay.
Garen is estimated to be 28 years old.
I can see
That's
that.
because he was 18 when Tiana became the High Marshal, which, Sona's story revealed, happened when Lord Bevel died. So that had to happen about 10 years ago.
Okay.
Connected to that, we also know that Sona
She's
is
pretty.
21. That's because she
I wish
was
they had
6
more
or
cinematics
7
with her
when
in
the
it.
Noxian invasion happened, which once again happened 14 years ago. So yes, Sona is only 21.
21. Okay.
Lux has to be about 25, since
25?
she is Garen's younger sister.
She.
Jarvan has to be
I
about
would have thought she was a
28
teenager
because
still.
he is similar age to Garen. Xin Zhao is interesting. He should be roughly 58, because he is about 12 years younger than Jarvan III, who was very old in the comics. So if Jarvan III was about 70 when he died, Xin would be 58.
Wow. Okay.
Quinn should be 27. That's because Lord Bevel died 2 years after Quinn was about 15 years old. This was all in Sona's story. And because of Sona, we know it happened about 10 years ago. Nar has to be over 9,000 years old.
Yeah,
He
I can
lived
see
through
that.
the 3 sisters. Gragas might be about 50. It's a
Gragas.
pure estimation, but we know he drank with Ashe when she was already the War Mother. Graves is estimated to be 45. That's because he spent a long time in prison. And based on his age, Twisted Fate should be about 40.
Who's
Gwen
Twisted Fate?
is 1 year old.
Yes.
You can find her in the Ruined King game on the Shadow Isles, and we know exactly when that happened. Of course, you may argue that she was alive even as a doll on Kamavor, and if you count that, she would be 1010. That is if she was made when Isolde was 13. Now let's bunch together the entire Kamavor.
Diego.
If Hecarim was 32 during the Ruination, which happened 1023 years ago, Hecarim would be 1055. This would be the same age as Grail, the Warden of Thresholds, which is the real name of Thresh. This also
Grail.
means that Viego would be slightly older at 1060, with Callista being his nephew at 1035. Which also means that Yorick would be 1051, which is the same age as Necrit. And above all of them, we have Vladimir, who is Viego's distant uncle. However, despite being related to the Kamavorian royal family, he is 500 years older than the rest. That's because Vladimir was there during the Darkin War, which happened 550 years ago, plus the current year, plus the fact that he was taken by the Darkin at roughly the age of 21. So he's 1569.
Wow.
Heimerdinger is a Yordle. He's immortal. Also, he has no lore. Ilaoi might be 45 by a pure estimation. She should be a bit younger than Gangplank. Irelia is 28. She was 14 when the invasion happened, and that happened 14 years ago. Ivern is over 8,998 years old. He was a Freljordian warrior from the age of the 3 sisters. Just like the other primal spirits, Jaina should be over 10,000 years old.
I don't know her.
If you want to be more accurate, she should be about 6,000 years old, because we have records of her from ancient Shurima. Jax is over 3,500 years old.
I can see that.
That's because we know he was there when Icathia rebelled. Jace is estimated to be 30 because he is similar age to Victor. And we know that Victor should be 30 because he was 19 in the bio before he went to the university, where he was for about 3 years, plus another 8 years into the present days.
Okay.
Jin, and I swear I didn't do this as a joke, is anything between 40 and 44. That's because it is estimated that he was over 26 years old after the invasion happened, which happened 14 years ago. Kaisa can't be older than 19. That's because we know that she spent 10 years in the Void, and her bio mentions she was less than a decade old back then. Also, it was confirmed that she is younger than Talia. Now, Talia was confirmed to be 24 in a tweet, but here's why that tweet should be wrong. If she was 16 during the invasion of Ionia, that would be 14 years added on top of that, and so in reality, Thalia right now is 28. But yes, it still means that Kaisa is younger than her. Karma is about 34. In the bio, it is mentioned that she was 12, then quote-unquote many years happened, which let's say is 8, and then you add the 14 from the invasion on top of that. Karthus can't be older than 649.
I don't know
That's
him.
because he was a kid in the slums of Noxus, and Noxus exists for 649 years. Pantheon is 68.
Pantheon.
We know that
68?
he ascended 40 years ago.
I thought he'd
and
be
he
older.
ascended at the age of roughly 28.
Okay.
Also, we know that Iula, the wife of his best friend, was
Iula?
68, so it matches the number. Kassadin should be 47. He was about 28 when he had
Don't know
Kaisa,
him.
so you add her age on top of that. Gale should be slightly more than 706.
That's a cool
She
picture.
traveled to Demacia before it was founded as a kingdom, which happened in 292. That's minus the current year. Morgana is her twin, so they are the same age.
Morgana.
Cain has to be
Cain.
less than 24. His
Okay.
story mentions that he was no more than 10
I was
when the
expecting him
invasion
to be
happened,
young.
14 years ago. Kenan is
younger
over
than that.
10,000 years old.
Wow.
He remembers the ancient wars of the First Lands.
Ah.
Kha'Zix is estimated to be 10. It's a pure
Kha'Zix.
estimation, but the void evolves really quickly. Kindred are there. Glad is a Yordle. He's immortal. But he was first mentioned during the Battle of Droon, which happened 1398 years ago, so he has to be older than that. Kog'Maw is estimated to be 6, since he was summoned by Malzahar, and Malzahar's reference is quote-unquote years since. LeBlanc is over 1300
Wow.
because
Jeez.
he was there during the reign of the Dark Revenant. Lee Sin should be about 39. It is an estimation, but he was a boy at Shojin, and then years passed before he met Udyr. Lilia has quite a massive gap.
She's adorable.
She can't be older than 8,998, because she was born after Omikaelan was destroyed, so it is after the story of Ivern. But she has to be at least 40, because a figure similar to Yasuo happens to appear in her story, with Yasuo there being about 26. So Lilia can be anything between those two numbers. In reality, I'd say she is over 1,000, because after the invasion happened, aggressive thoughts started invading her dreaming tree. Lysandra is over 9,000 years old.
I can see that.
She's on the timeline. Lucian should be over 32. According to the comics and the timeline, Senna spent 5 years in the Lantern. If that happened at the age of 25, we got about 7 or 8 years into the current days. Which also means that Senna would be 34. Lulu is a Yordle.
Lulu.
Malphite can't be older than 3,500, because
Really?
he was created after the Icathian War. Malzahar is about 35, but that's absolutely a pure estimation. Maokai is over 10,000 years
Okay.
old. He came to be before the first living memory, so it had to be before the First Lands. Master Yi is about 35. He was 15 in the story with Doran. Then he was over 20 when he became a master, because they all called him a young master, and then the Noxian invasion happened 14 years ago. Mordekaiser is over 1400 years old.
I can see
His
that.
reign ended 400 years before the present days. Nami should be more or less 18. Her bio
Really?
mentions that she became the Tidecaller at
I
the
haven't
age
heard
that's
anything about
anywhere
her.
from 10 to 19, and then she spent 2 years looking
She looks
for the
very
aspect of the
interesting,
moon.
though.
Theoretically, she can be 12. Realistically, she is about 18.
I can see
Nasus
18.
is over 3,500 years old. He served the Empire before Icathia. Renekton is the same, just
Yeah.
slightly younger. Nautilus is anything from
Nautilus.
211 to 110. He lived after Bilgewater was founded, but we also know that his former crew died, which likely happened about
Oh, is
50
he
years
the
ago.
giant that's in the
Nico is estimated to be 230.
one of the cinematics I've seen with Pike? Is he? Let me know.
200
Oh,
is a
she's
pure
cute
guess
too.
based
Oh,
on
she's
the
is she
bio,
the lizard
but she
girl?
also met Nidalee when she was about 30. Also, based on the art alone, Nidalee in the present days should be about 35.
Who's Nidalee?
Nocturne can't be older than 1011. He was born at the end of the Rune Wars. Nunu
Okay.
is estimated
Nunu.
to be 8.
I gotta
His
play that
bio
game.
mentions that he was 5, and then,
I have it.
quote unquote,
I haven't played it
years
yet.
came and went. Willem should not be older than 9,000 years, because the Yetis were wiped out during the War of the Three Sisters. With Willem
I heard really
being
good
a
things
Yeti
about it, though.
magic that was left behind after the war. Olaf is a pure estimation
Olaf.
of 40. Oriana is estimated to be about 26. She was pure human until 18. That's when the chemical spill happened and she got corrupted, and connected to Blitzcrank, we know that happened roughly 8 years ago. Ornn is over 10,000 years
Fluffy.
old, just like Anivia, and the same goes for Volibear. Poppy has to be over 706. She is older than Demacia. Similar to Galio. But Galio
Wow.
is younger than that because he was created after the foundation of Demacia. Pike is estimated to be 45. He would be roughly 35 when he got corrupted. Kiana is estimated to be anything from 18 to 20. Her bio keeps reminding us that she is very young, and she started mastering her elemental training at the age of 7. Rakan is about 100 years old,
I can see that.
similar to Zaya, who lived for about 70 years. You know, the Vastaya live longer, but she also remembers when the Vastaya started making deals with humans. If you add the invasion of Noxus on top of that, both of them would be roughly 100 years. That would also match Ari. Rames's age is okay. Really, we don't know.
Okay.
Rek'Sai has 5 lines of lore. Rel is 16. Her bio straight up mentions her current age. Rengar is estimated to be 60. The only info on his
I can
age
see that.
is when a human helped him, quite a few years ago. Riven should be anything from 26 to 29. She was young when she was wielding a longsword. That would be at about 12 to 15. That's when she was taken by Noxus, and then the invasion happened. Rumble is a Yordle. Rise is over 1011. He is slightly older than the Rune Wars. Samira is estimated to be 32. She was taken into Noxus when she was about 16 years old, then she had 2 years of military training, and then whatever time passed into the present days. Seraphine is estimated to be 18, though her lore happened very recently, so she might not even be 18, but that's all guessing. Set is hilarious, because everything points at the fact that Set would be 14.
No.
First of all, his mother is a Vastaya. Who knows
Yeah.
how quickly the Vastaya age? But his father was a Noxian in Ionia. First of all, Noxians started traveling to Ionia during the invasion. Now, it is possible for a few Noxians to be there before the invasion. However, Set's father was a pit fighter in the Noxian pits in Ionia. And those were definitely built during the Noxian invasion. It was mentioned multiple times during the Sisterhood of War. Also,
He can't
Set's
be
bio
14.
mentions that there were scores of soldiers fresh to the shores of Ionia.
Hmm.
All of this points at the fact that Set might actually be about 14 years old. Shaco
He cannot be
doesn't even
14.
exist. Shen should be about 38. The flashbacks in the comic happened 21 years ago, and those were roughly when he was 14. Also, in the comic, the Noxian invasion happened 10 years ago, so we know that the entire comic series happened 4 years ago. So Shen should be 38,
Makes
with
sense.
Zed being younger at 35.
35.
Shyvana might only be about 20 years old. She was described as young woman. However, she was born as an egg in the batch of a dragon known as Yiva. Then Shyvana was
Oh, is
still
she the one that
away,
can turn into
and
a
Yiva
dragon?
waited for all the other dragons to take flight before she herself went out to find Shyvana. Which means that Shyvana's age is however long it takes for a dragon to learn how to fly. So she should be about 20, if not less than that. Singed is 75 by pure estimation. If he was a professor at 30, which is roughly when you normally become a professor, then he had years of research, and then the invasion happened 14 years ago.
Okay.
Sion should be over 100 years old. He should be slightly over 100 because
That
he
makes
killed
sense. I can-
Jarvan II.
I can see
So
that.
if Jarvan III was 70-ish, then it was that plus the age of his father when he was born. Also, Sion's bio straight up mentions a century. Skarner is kinda a mystery, but we know that his race, the Breckern, are over 6,000 years old.
Wow, okay.
Because they were there
I don't know
long
much about
before the
him.
rise of Shurima's greatest empire. Soraka is a celestial.
Soraka?
She was there from the
Celestial,
beginning.
okay.
Swain is estimated to be 50. He was part of many conquests, and he was roughly 35 by the
I
time
thought he'd
the
be
invasion
older.
happened. So you add 14 on top of that. Silas is anything from 27 to 30. He was imprisoned at the age of roughly 12, but we know that he was imprisoned for 15 years. Syndra is estimated to be over 300 years old, because she was locked underneath Phalor,
I don't know who that
and
is.
it was mentioned that Phalor stood for centuries. Tamkench is a demon. Who knows? Talon should be over 30. It's a pure estimation. His lore
I don't
has
know who that is, I don't
paragraphs,
think.
but he should be similar to Katarina. Tariq should be 28, similar to Garen. Timo and then all the rest of the Yordles, including Veigar, Tristana, Vex, Ziggs, and Yumi, are all Yordles with no reference to time. Trundle is a pure estimation of 80. We have no idea. Tryndamere is estimated to be over 32. He should be older than Ashe. Twitch has 3 sentences of lore. Urgot is estimated to be 50. He should be similar age to Swain, since Swain sent him away during the last days of Borem Darkwill. Varus, as in the Darkin, is over 5,998 years old. But the 2 humans who share his body, Valmar and Kai, should be 35. They were about 21 when the invasion happened. Vayne should be roughly 30. Her parents died at the age of 16. She earned her first kill at 18. And then several years went by before she got in touch with the Witch of Freljord, and then you add the present days on top of that.
I can see that.
Pelkos is estimated to be 6,000 years old. His story mentions that he existed thousands of years before Icathia, which happened 3,500 years ago. But we also know that he is a creation of the Watchers, and the Watchers started influencing Runeterra 9,000 years ago. So realistically, he should be about 6,000 years old. Vorik would be a pure estimation. His past is a mystery, but if the Vander theory holds, he would be about 55 if Vander was about 48. Wukong lived for countless years. That's all we know.
Alright, pause it. I was trying not to spoil that for me, because I wasn't sure if it was Vander or not, but apparently, so they think this might be Vander. I'm sad.
Estimation. His past is a mystery, but if the Vander theory
Why did he
holds,
turn into a
he
dog?
would be about 55 if Vander
Maybe
was
that's
about
not
48.
Vander.
Wukong lived for countless years. That's all we know, but he might be about 100 just like Ari. Zerath should be 3,035. He is slightly older than Azir. Yasuo might be about 39, since he would be about 15 years older than Talia and Riven. That would also make Yone 42, since he is Yasuo's older brother. Zac is about 7. It's an estimation, but we know he was a sentient of dirty water before he was refined. His story is also related to Saito Takeda, who has not been a baron for very
I haven't heard anything about that.
Zillion is over
I don't know you.
3,500 years old.
You look old.
He is an old Icathian mage. Zeri might be about 19.
I don't know you.
She is
you look
younger
cool.
than Echo. Zoe is between 1,000
I know
and
Zoe.
1,550 years old. Her story is likely happening before the Rune Wars, so she has to be over 1,000. But she can't be older than Maisha, who was the previous aspect of Twilight, who was there during the Darkin War. And lastly, there is Zyra, who was born during the Rune Wars, so she would be 1,010.
I can see that.
And that was the canon age of all the champions.
That
Once
was
again,
good.
It is definitely possible that I missed a detail or two, and that might have been crucial enough to pinpoint the age exactly for some champions. But I'm still confident as I say that this might be the most accurate list when it comes to the age of all champions.
It mostly
really
makes
took us
sense.
a really long time to put it all together, and you can't imagine how much work went into it. So, see you in 4 years when stuff gets retconned and I have to do it again.
Thank you, Necrit. So yeah, it was pretty much what I thought, especially like Yuri and like fiddlesticks. I figured there wouldn't be an actual number for him. Yeah. The only thing that surprised me was I thought she was younger because I don't know, every time I seen her she looked really young, but it makes sense. And Annie, that was a shocker for me. There's a few. I love this one, this estimation right here. That was hilarious. But yeah, really good video. Alright, so that was my reaction to Necrits. How old are the champions? Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. And if you're new, please like, subscribe, ring the bell for notification. Thank you all so much for watching. You have a good day, good night, bye bye.